Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Excited to be back with the one, the only Dr. Michael Kell joining us here live today. We had a little hiatus and an emergency last week on my end, so I appreciate me having to bump you. I had to go pick up my son from school. Thank you. Again, he's okay, which is good news. How are you doing?
I'm busy as usual, and working on, the TV show template.
Awesome.
Which they don't give you a template. They don't give you a written template, which is foolish in my opinion. I told John that already, but that's okay. So I'm working on that and a bunch of other things, trying to recapture all the funds I spent on books and other things. But I'm charged.
Good. And speaking of books, I know today you want to do some readings for us, but let's first remind everyone how we can reach out to you.
Yep. This book is not published yet.
Okay.
Like the other 11s aren't working. I'm still editing them, and I never thought I'd like to edit. It actually is very relaxing with the computer. But this book is about an incredibly interesting book, I think. And actually, one of my problems been talking to these book marketer guys is, go find something in your genre. I go, there is nobody in my genre. It's a brand new genre. I mean, where have you ever read erotic stories that teach you something about God and the universe, and everybody in it just expresses unconditional love and is funny? He said, transformative fiction, but I don't think there's a category like that. So I said, I'm not doing it that way. We need to figure out a better way to market, which hopefully TV will be. But the story is, it says chapter 15 from the first book of the spiritual teachings of Gabriel Baliet. Now, Gabriel Baliet means Gabriel, Lord of the appointed time. And people don't know it initially, but he is actually the working God for every universe.
Okay.
He's actually the over God who made himself human to deal with it. But nobody knows that in the beginning. But what I'm going to talk about is my studies of the jinn mythology and their history, particularly surrounding visits of Gabriel to the jinn, because he actually removed them from another universe, brought them in our universe. They don't have physical bodies, but they have spiritual bodies that work just as well. And he wanted to take his student, Sophie, interestingly enough, Sophia, goddess of wisdom, to meet the jinn. And so this is the story of what happened. And I want to talk about what they celebrate, because they celebrate a religion close to Christianity, except it didn't come from Jesus. It came from his sister, daughter of God, which in Hebrew is Bitya. Her name is Ariel, which means lioness. Now, she is extremely fierce and nice at the same time. And she actually was mentioned in Egyptian mythology as Sekhmet, goddess lion, who, when Ra got upset with mankind and wanted to destroy them, he enraged her, and she just ran around killing everybody and drinking blood all the time.
Oh, my.
So you can see where the stories from the Old Testament came from. They're not original to the Jews. They're original to other peoples. But this is about what's called Resurrection Eve. And they don't celebrate the crucifixion because Ariel wasn't crucified. But Ariel actually is a sister from another time of Ariel. I mean, Ariel's his sister. He's her brother. So it's interesting. But they celebrate her birth. And so this is the night before the day when they say Ariel is risen, which means was born. This is the biggest holiday they have. Oh, and this story about the eve of Resurrection Eve sets the scene for why this is such a big thing. And that's what I want to read. And I think I can get done in time.
Sure.
But I'm going to shut off my video while I do this so I can read easier, because it drives me nuts to do both. Okay. Now everybody can look at Jo because she's pretty and nice. And I'm just going to read. And they're in the inn now. And people in the inn had scrubbed the great room floor clean. The table and benches were orderly for the celebrants to enjoy. Aliona explained the resurrection celebration to the others who were visiting from another place, so everyone was familiar with the tradition and excited. Gabriel enlarged the inn so it could hold all the villagers. The design is impressive as he tiered the room like the Globe Theater of William Shakespeare, but with many more tiers. What was most striking was that every floor seemed like it was the bottom floor for the celebration. Townsfolk gathered in the inn before sunset. Everyone is imbibing one of Merlin's ales and commenting on how good they are. As the sun sets, Aliona whispers in Gabriel's ear, "Husband, it is time to begin the Resurrection Eve miracle. Oh, darling, such a special and holy night it shall be. Thank you for everything. The miracle recurs every time I feel the love the young wife must have felt for her husband, and I understand her desire to give her husband a child. Aliona takes Gabriel's right hand, bringing it to her lips to kiss. Later, everyone watching agreed that a golden halo of light appeared and shone above her head for several minutes. Gabriel puts his arm around Aliona, announcing, "Dearest friends, our celebration for Resurrection Eve begins soon. So please stand and bow your heads as we offer a prayer of thankfulness to our Holy Father and Mother. Join in voice and spirit as we recite each line together. Great Father, Mother, fountain pure, whose water liveth within our beating hearts. Sacred is thy name, for in thy name all of existence arises and passes, returning to thee at the end of times. Give us this day life-sustaining nourishment, both material and supernatural. Forgive us our ignorance in action, our misunderstandings, our aggressive moments, encouraging us evermore to make peace with our neighbors. Help us disregard the voice of the tempter, no matter how sweet and melodious it sounds, by reminding us we are your children and not his. For thy home is our mansion, thy goodness our goodness, thy knowing our knowing, thy being our being, thy observing our observing, thy intending our intending. For it shall come to be someday that our land is as a heaven, ruled by mercy and justice forever and forever. And the stardust upon the resurrection twinkled brilliantly as the group recited this wondrous prayer. Gabriel began the story. Once, a long time ago, a young couple lived in a village in a dark forest. The man was a physician, and his young wife was a herbalist. They had no children, as his wife had broken her pelvis as a young girl and could not give birth. She walked with a limp, and her husband had to carry her sometimes, for she experienced severe pain episodes. The man had met her once in a much larger village, where she had gone because of her pain. She fell in love when she met him, and he did the same. He treated her pain, and she was much better. Under his care, she could work as a herbalist for the surrounding villages. He would often travel to her village to see how she was doing and suggest certain potions. One day, the doctor asked her to marry him. She told the young doctor, "I love you with all my heart, but I cannot bear children because of my accident. You will not desire me when you see my twisted, bony pelvis. I am so ugly below my waist. I cannot do hard labor. It could not be the wife a fine man as you should have." The doctor said, "I will marry you, and if you can't do something, I will do it for you. I don't care about your pelvis and limp. I care about your heart. Anyway, no Jinn lady is as beautiful and as kind as you. Yes, my love, I will marry you." And dear friends, this is what they did. He moved to her village and was the best doctor the town ever had. The old grannies felt sorry for both, as they had no other family members and would not have children to take care of them when they grew old. But, as grannies are apt to do, they took turns on holidays to bring the couple to their homes. But there is more to come. Suddenly, the clangor of a cowbell startled everyone. Gabriel and Aliona went to open the front door to the inn, but as they approached the door, the clothes changed, and they were no longer Gabriel and Aliona, but another couple. A great blizzard stormed outside, and everyone felt snow and cold air entering the room from the open door. Standing on the threshold, bent over and wearing fur hats, fur mittens, fur coats, and fur boots were two elderly Jinn. The elderly man said in a shaky voice, "Please, kind lady and sir, my beloved wife is so cold and so tired. May we warm ourselves by your hearth? We had to leave our built church 3 days ago, and everyone was afraid to help two elderly Jinn because of the war. We have no more food. I would gladly remain outside, but please take grandmother into your home." The young wife replied, "Holy Father, curse those evil Jinn. We are not afraid of them. Please, grandmother and grandfather, come inside. We are not rich in goods, but we love Holy Mother and Father and do good works in their name. My beloved husband is a wonderful physician, and I am a herbalist." My husband examined their hands and feet and announced they had no frostbite. "Beloved, get the ointment you made the other day, and I will rub it on their hands and feet, and they will be fine." The young wife handed them mugs of hot mulled wine. She said, "Do not talk, just drink your mead to warm your insides. Husband, go to the kitchen and bring our guests some of my little poppy seed and honey buns. The ointment is in the cupboard. I am sorry, but my pelvis has been hurting very much, but I did not want to complain." He hurried to the kitchen and returned with the ointment, the buns, and some soft butter. He spread the butter on some pastries and handed one to each to eat. Grandfather and grandmother ate quite a few buns as they were hungry. The young husband rubbed the ointment into their hands and feet of the elderly Jin. He knew his wife was in much pain, and his heart ached so much for her. When he finished, he said, "Excuse me, but I need to get a tonic for my wife, as I know she is in much pain and doesn't want to disturb you." The young doctor returned with his pain tincture, saying, "Open your mouth and lift your tongue, please." He placed 10 drops of tincture under her tongue, reminding her, "Don't swallow for a count of 20. His wife did as her husband asked, saying, "I am the luckiest female Jin anywhere, grandfather and grandmother. I wish you could investigate my heart and see my love for my husband is pure." After they were warm and full, grandmother turned to grandfather with tears, saying, "Grandfather, I told you, goodness and compassion still live in this world. We did not lose all." Grandfather replied, "It is true, grandmother, it is true." Grandmother said, "Sweet child, I see it is difficult for you to move about, and you have a limp. I also see that your husband's heart suffers silently for you. Child, his love for you could not be purer than it is." Young wife said, taking her husband's hand into her own, "Yes, grandmother, I broke my pelvis when I was a child and it did not heal properly. So one side is shorter than the other, so I must limp. My pelvis is deformed and I hate seeing myself naked. My husband always tells me I am the most beautiful Jin he has ever met and desires me. I do not see how this can be, but it does not matter as we can make love. I know Holy Father and Mother found me the most decent and loving husband ever. I know he loves me more than he loves himself, so I'm thankful for my accident. And dearest grandmother, I love him and wish to give him a child." "It's true, grandmother and grandfather. She is the prettiest and kindest wife in the world, and I love her very much," finished the husband. "Enough of this. Tell us your tale." Grandmother told us what had happened to them. The evil Jin came to our village for provisions. A young officer walked into our village church where I was pope. He said he had orders to burn the church and dispose of us. He was alone and told us as he must obey orders, but he would not kill innocent children and grandparents. The young officer said, "I must burn the church, but I do not have to kill you." The order said to dispose of you, Grandmother, go get your kitchen and pack cheese and bread. Grandfather, get your fur coats, mittens, hats, and boots. Bring everything here back as soon as you can. We followed his direction. He told us to dress and tie our food inside our coats so we'd not freeze. The officer told grandmother, "Your scarf is not warm enough. Take mine. You must walk far, far from here and look for some people to take you in. Your neighbors are too afraid to help." Then he shooed us out the door and burned the church. As we watched the church go up in flames, grandmother said, "Grandfather, he's not a bad boy, just confused." We walked for 3 days, and you are the only Jin willing to help us. The young wife had big tears in her eyes and heard grandmother. "I'm so sorry, grandmother. It is not like this in the beginning when Lord Gabriel saved all the Jin. My husband and I do not have parents or grandparents, and you may stay as part of our little family. Right, honey? Beloved, we cannot have children because of your broken pelvis, but we can have grandparents to love," husband replied. Grandmother and grandfather looked at each other smiling. Grandfather said, "Grandmother, we have found them. These are the holy Jin. It is time for our miracle." The young couple did not understand at first, but a golden light emanated from both guests, and soon all the couple would see were two light forms. The young wife said, "Husband, it is the Holy Father and Mother. They are in our home." Both bowed deeply. Holy Mother spoke in the kindest of voices, saying, "On a small table rest 2 steeds. Grandson, you will swallow the golden seed. Granddaughter, you will swallow the silver seed. Drop your gown, granddaughter. Show me your pelvis." The wife dropped her robe and looked at herself in the large mirror which appeared from nowhere. The young wife saw her misshaped pelvis in the mirror and felt ashamed of her ugliness. She tried to hide it for me, and could not, and began crying. The husband grabbed her in his arms and turned her face away from the mirror, saying, "Honey, when I look at you, I always see you perfect. You are the only wife I ever wanted, and we shall be together all our lives. Please, Holy Mother, don't make her look into the mirror again." Holy Mother replied, "Doctor, turn your wife to the mirror. It's my command." The young husband turned his wife to look in the mirror. Holy Mother said, "Observe the power of your unconditional love for each other. Sufficient love works miracles. Grandfather, look how lovely our little granddaughter is. She is no longer crippled. She will make wonderful grandchildren for us to love." She turned all the way around to see her pelvis and lower body were as it would have looked without the accident. She was without pain and had no limp. She called to her husband, "Oh, husband, I can give you a child. I am whole." Holy Father said, "Take the seeds as my beloved instructed you. You will combine with your seeds to prepare a vessel for our holy daughter, Bitcha. She is a savior and will end this needless war and banish evilness to a place where it will remain." The two adjusted their respective seeds with some spiced honey mead. Holy Father and Mother had vanished into the frosty night when they looked up, leaving all their outerwear. The young wife said, "Come, husband, I am whole and want to lie with you." The young doctor was again Gabriel, and the young wife was again Aliona. Aliona finished the story. The husband and wife left for the bedroom, and a beautiful girl was born 9 months later. Her name was Ariel the Lioness. We celebrate her holy conception as a djinn on Resurrection Eve. There's not a dry eye in the group. Not a dry eye. Humbug. Everyone is crying out pure joy and happiness. The guests realized that Resurrection Eve story was ancient. Still, the parts played by Gabriel, Aliona, and the other djinn were genuine. Aliona's limp and twisted pelvis seemed so natural in the mirror, as if Gabriel and Aliona were the mystical couple and the Holy Mother and Father. Sophie asked, "Aliona, it seems so real, the story. It was like I was standing in the house with the young couple and the Holy Mother and Father. How can this be? You look so different, and your poor fellow was so badly deformed when you were naked that made me want to come to hug you." Aliona smiled. "Sophie, you just experienced the miracle of Resurrection Eve, the actual reliving of the events leading up to the conception of Ariel. The miracle is why the jinn don't have to believe in the presence of the Holy Family in this universe. But the Holy Ones gave this gift to the jinn because of the unconditional love of one young couple. They told us we were to celebrate the miracle every Resurrection Eve, reminding us of the power of unconditional love so we would never slip into evil again. The miracle first appeared towards the end of the Great War, when the Holy Family brought the doctrines beloved into the upper world. And yes, Sophie, they conceived another daughter before they departed. It was my great granny, Lydia, hundreds of thousands of years ago." Wow, was all it could say. The head kitchen granny approached Gabriel, tipsy, though still proper. My lord. They were retired to the kitchen so to bring out the meal. Gabriel had learned the names of Eleanor's grannies and replied, "Estracy, please do so. You can call me Gabriel. I never liked my lord so much." The grannies headed to the kitchen, and everyone sat down. Aliona went to the fireplace mantel and opened an ancient incense censer hanging from a book. She took some embers from the fireplace and placed them in the censer. She stood up and retrieved a clay jar filled with large chunks of frankincense and myrrh. She took a handful, sprinkled the incense on top of the embers, and closed the lid. Then lit the wick of a large beeswax candle, held the lit candle in one hand and the censer in the other, and returned to stand next to Gabriel. Standing, Gabriel said, "It is the custom on Resurrection Eve for the mistress of the house to take the candle, symbolic of the higher light of wisdom, to illuminate her path as she senses this room. The smoke and fragrance of the incense symbolize the divine love of the Holy Family. Tomorrow I shall have 2 mistresses in this house. Sophie, whose name means wisdom, will carry the holy candle to illuminate Aliona's path as she infuses the symbolic world with love of the Holy Family. Indeed, love and wisdom seem like 2 while being 1. Sophie and Aliona, I swear upon all that is holy and everlasting, that I will honor, love, and cherish you both equally and for all of time. One day you will discover you are true sisters in a new Trinity. Tonight and forever I shall worship and love at your altars as established by the Holy Family, so will it be. Brides thou shalt be this Resurrection Eve, but wives thou will be tomorrow."
Hello.
Sophie and Aliona. We out of time?
No, we're good. I just got to making sure you're still there. I didn't hear you for a sec. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, Gabriel recited the holy prayer when the evening finished and the dinners arrived. There's no time to describe the feast other than to mention that no meat dishes appear on the menu, but these must wait for Resurrection Day. Family enjoyed sweet grain pudding with heavy fresh cream, unleavened round bread, stuffed cabbage rolls, small dumplings with mushrooms, dumplings with cabbage and potatoes, slow-cooked kidney beans with potatoes, garlic, and seasoning, biscuits with poppy seeds and honey, and yellow pea soup. 4 different desserts, and of course, warm spiced meat. Toast continued through the meal, and Aliona's girls and the grannies sat down to enjoy. Everyone was pleasantly warm, tipsy, or respectably drunk. A golden halo formed above Aliona's head, visible to all. She stood and prophesied. Someday, hundreds of thousands of years from now, the villagers will swear most solemnly upon the holy knowledge that the love which shone from the hearts of those present this evening was so pure that the Holy Family came to share the feast and the 3rd great miracle came to be. The villagers shall claim that on this very night, Ariel, the daughter of God, descended into Aliona and Sophie and both became royal daughters of the Holy Family. On that night, one of the most celebrated nights in future Jinn history, the Jinn world radiated love. Gabriel worshipped with passion and devotion at the altars of Sophie and Aliona, bringing the gift of Ariel and a pair of identical twins into existence, the three of them being at last unconditional, so Ariel could confer immortality. If you ask the Jinn how they know the story is valid, they will show you an old parchment codex filled with ink drawings of the time of the holy daughter spent with the Jinn and the miracles they performed. They called themselves the Sisters of the Returning Savior, their sister Ariel. Ariel came again to the Jinn, and the Jinn came to live fully, as the race had done in the old universe. And each will bow their head and place hands over the heart, saying, "Glory to the highest for the fourth miracle. Amen." As Aliona sat down by Gabriel, the stardust of the resurrection tree glowed more brightly. Sparks of gold and silver brilliance flew from the tree into the room, piercing the hearts of all present. With each heart piercing, the miracle of unconditional love for others was no longer speculative. Each shared a love for the others, as do the holy angels who love others more than themselves. A soft feminine voice spoke to each child. The greatest miracle of all is experiencing unconditional love. So make it permanent and never forget that the Holy Family loves you. The light of the tree returned to its previous state. No one knew what to say. Gabriel stood up and said, "Often words desert us when unconditional love is present, but you can show it by action. Try hugging each other, and you will understand." Each hugged their two nearest neighbors, feeling the miracle of unconditional love. At the end of each hug, each received another gift. For a second, each knew the unending suffering felt by the Holy Family, for the injustice and injury caused to others by egoism. Gabriel said each must decide which path to travel. Dinner finished, and everyone helped the grannies clear the tables. I'll be pretty close to the end now, huh?
Yeah, we got about 3 minutes left.
Okay, I got time. For the rest of the evening, Gabriel handed out presents repeatedly. There's no time to describe the gifts, but the presents pleased everyone. Eleanor got, she's a little 3-year-old girl, daughter of Morgana and Tristan, got many talking dolls represented different races in the universe in a dollhouse for them to live. Sophie and Aliona received beautiful diamond necklaces, perfumes, dresses, and baby clothing for the two little girls. Morgana got some ancient magic books, a new wand, and some sexy dresses. Tristan's principal wife, Nada, received a charter signed by King Arthur, permitting the first magic school in Camelot. Tristan had searched many years for an opal necklace worn by the elves' first queen, which held potent magic power. He found it and presented it to Nada. She cried, and Tristan went to kiss her, whispering, "I love you as much as Gabriel loves Ariel, Nada. No, we'll always be together. Promise." The twins received complete wardrobes of superb clothing, including clothes for their daughters. They jumped in all around. For Merlin, Gabriel had located the first crystal glazing spear made by the first ones. Gabriel had also discovered some old hermetic scrolls from Egypt and a few complete Stoic scrolls from Zeno and Chrysippus. Now he could check on everyone and what was going on in the universe. Tristan received a suit of enchanted elf armor, an impenetrable shield, and a magic sword that no opponent could knock out of his hand. Eleanor's new name for them, the kitchen grannies, each received several beautiful aprons and new cooking utensils. Aliona's in-girls received pretty lace dresses for wearing tomorrow and perfumes. Tristan's students each received a magic wand that matched their magical personality plus enchanted armor. His lady students and wives received wands, armor, perfumes, and clothing for Lucian. After they distributed the presents, Eleanor said, "Uncle Gabriel doesn't have a present." "No, Eleanor, I received the very best present that one can give to another. Every one of you has trusted and loved me over these many years. Trust and love and expression gifts the Holy Family gives us so we can share them with others. No worldly gain can compare. And tomorrow I shall have my immortal family, beginning with my beloved Sophie and Aliona. I think God could not love two beautiful ladies more than I do them, even if they had remained child's brides for a few years or more." They got switched back to 15 years old before this story. Everyone laughed. "Then I shall have 3 little ones conceived and carried by the pure love of my precious Aliona and Aaron." Sophie and Aliona cried, for their love for Gabriel overwhelmed them. They thought that tonight all 3 of them would make the most sacred love, at least for 2 virgins. Each was filled with the seed and pregnant by morning, as he had promised. They would give the holiest gift to Gabriel, and he would reciprocate with his liquid gift of a child to them, a perfect tetrad. It was late, so Gabriel sent the villagers home with their presents. When the inn cleared, he sent everyone off to bed.
And how long ago did you write this?
Oh, I've been working on it for a year or two.
Oh,
I'm
well,
working on
thank
a
you
lot
for
of books.
sharing.
I've edited them all
I
right
mean,
now.
and this one's going to be published as well?
Hopefully this will be a great seller because it's really long. I mean, it's like 6 volumes already. And then
Wow.
when I talk about Tristan Morgana, that's another set of books, which is like 6 books long
Oh my goodness.
so far. And they're long books. And then it's somewhat related to the story by thing about, Yeshua gave Jesus another universe, which is even longer.
Yeah.
And so they're a lot different than the God's Greatest Miracle, which really was for children.
Oh, well,
But
thank you for sharing. And remind us how we could reach out to you today.
the easiest way is just to go to my personal email, and I don't care if people know about it. It's calmj@aol.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And enlightenment123.org. Is that okay to
Yep.
send them there?
And,
Perfect.
and
Thank
actually, I'm
you
going to
so
have some
much.
books ready pretty soon that I can just sum out of our Jean-Michel
Okay.
Polyakov website later on.
Perfect.
So I'll keep
Thank
you
you so
updated.
much. Looking forward to seeing you and speaking with you again soon.
Same here. I'm glad everyone's
Thank you
well in the
again,
family.
Doc. Thank you again, Dr. Michael Keller.
Okay, take
Appreciate it.
care.
Have a
See
great
you
day.
next week.
You
Okay,
got it.
bye-bye.
Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.